Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. So, a lot of you guys wanted me to break into this thing and give you some more information on it. This is Novak's racket. So I am going to break into it now. The reason for the lag was I ordered a balance board from Dunlop and it's stuck with FedEx somewhere. And I looked in a little more depth of what the balance board's going to tell me. It's going to tell me the same thing as what I have in my RDC machine. It'll only tell me inches and centimeters. You guys have been wanting millimeters. So what I'm going to do is, after breaking in here, I'm going to convert it for you into millimeters. Okay? So part 2, breaking in again. So again, this is Novak's racket from the 2016 Australian Open, used in the championship finals. Okay, so before going over to and checking the balance, you guys have asked if there was lead anywhere. There is a trap door here, so I am gonna open that up. Whoa, is that fake? Whoa. Whoa, that is tightly on there, which tells me there might be. Oh yeah, look, it's loaded with a silicone. Yeah, it's filled with silicone because it's stuck. I better pop that back in. Okay. So I've done that before with rackets. That was like perfectly loaded with silicone. You saw that it was injected throughout all of here because it touched the cap and held that cap down. But silicone, if you guys have messed with it before, it actually doesn't weigh that much. You actually need a ton of it in there to make it weigh anything. Like I've actually had to load lead weights or lead strips in there with the silicone to weigh it down more. And it's actually hard to stuff it in there unless you have one of those thin injectors and then you kind of, have it come up while you're squeezing. Okay, so the next place is in the head guard. Now, how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to actually just poke around here and see if I could lift it. There's definitely a layer of lead in there. My guess is it's all over the head, all the way through. I won't know unless I take all the strings out. Let's check that. So this is not a weighted dampener. This is a standard dampener. So the other thing that I wanted to see was, it looks like there's leather under here just because it looks like it's orange. So this, I'm just gonna take off the top coat or this finishing tape and see if I can find what's under here. Oh, what the? Look, there's another overgrip under here. That means there has to be leather underneath this one. Opening up the second one here. That's leather. It's a soft leather though. It's actually a smoother, kind of a calfskin leather. Look at that. I know a lot of the colors come off onto the grip. That's why the grip is orange. But it's, I can't go any further than that. But yeah, that's leather, but it's soft. It's actually fairly cushioned too. So I'm gonna put it back on. So two overgrips. That's a little surprising to me. All right, put it back together. Put it back together perfectly. Take this old tape off, put a new tape on. So that was interesting. I didn't know that. I'll bet all you guys didn't know that either. So, okay. So what did we learn? Silicone in the handle. Lead in the head, most likely. 2 overgrips, leather underneath. You guys have all told me, or a bunch of you have told me, Sun 27.5 means Sunday, the day of the finals at the Australian, 27.5 kilos. Now, one more interesting thing that I was looking at on this racket is, I had told you that this was an 18 by 20 string pattern, with gut being on the main and ALU being on the cross. I can tell by looking at how this was strung that it was done by the Yonex professional stringing team, just by how these are knotted. I'm part of that team, and Yonex is the official stringers of the Australian Open. Now, how can I tell? Well, the mains are just like how they're supposed to be. They're anchored here and here, which is what you're supposed to do. Now, the crosses are where I can tell. Now, you see the top cross is anchored on another cross. So there's a way that in order to be on the Yonex stringing team, that it has to be done this way. So the cross actually gets tied off on the cross on both sides. And that is not a starting knot. That is an ending knot. If you don't know what that is, when you start off a racket, in most cases, you run the string up to probably that hole right there, which is a main. You knot it there, and then you do a starting knot, which when you pull tension, that knots up by itself. I can tell that that is an ending knot because of how it looks. And there's a way that we have to do it, that we're taught. All Yonex stringers have to do it this particular way. And I'm actually going to do another video that will show you what that technique is. So what this tells me is both of these crosses are tied off on crosses. That's pretty rare. So you would have to learn a certain way to do it this way. So let's go to the scale and tell you where the balance point is. Scale, tell you the balance point. So I'm going to tell it to you in hopefully inches and centimeters, and I'll do a conversion to millimeters on the bottom, okay? So okay. I guess I did need to turn it on. Okay, here we go. Okay, right about there. So, whoa. It's interesting. Balance point is 32.75 centimeters. And just one, man, where is that? It's 12 and, where is that on the 12? It's past the 12 and a half, 12 and 3/4, 12.80, 12.8, right about there. So 12, because it's way past 12 and a half, past 12.75. It's 12.875, 12.875 inches on the balance point. So I'm going to convert those numbers for you down below there. So that's the balance point if you want to make your own Novak racket. One more quick thing. When we measured the length of it, it was a little shorter. I don't know if they actually did that on purpose. So when pros have their stringers string their racket, sometimes they have it done tighter in the mains. Sometimes 5 pounds, sometimes 7 or 8 pounds, tighter in the mains than the cross. When they do that, it shrinks the racket down. So it compresses the racket this way, and then without the same force. So if you don't do 60 pounds, let's say this way, and you do like 55 or lower on the cross, well, then there's more tension pushing it downwards. And these rackets are pretty soft, so it will shrink this racket a bit. So that's Novak's racket part 2. Okay, if you guys have any more questions about the racket, let me know. I would have loved to cut these strings out and open up that head guard, but I can't do it. Thanks for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis.